Trey Hume through the legs, finds Enzo Lefay. Lefay thinks about the shot. Easy.
There it is.
He made that look so easy, but it was brilliant. Oh, and the ball's good and opens up. And Wilson Infinite makes it 2-0.
Hello and welcome to Black Cats Chat, the international fans podcast for Sunderland AFC. My name is Lee Thirkell. I'm from the Bilbao Black Cats. And tonight I've got Ian McNee. He's in Wuppertal in Germany. He's part of the German Black Cats who've got their German come over in a couple of weeks for the whole game. Ian, guten Nacht or guten Abend, whatever you call it. What do you call it there?
Guten Abend.
Guten Abend. There we go.
Abend.
How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, doing well.
Looking forward to the come over?
Yes, actually, we are. There's 8 of us now. We managed to co-opt my mate who lives in Manila in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. He's over that weekend as well, so he's tagging himself on. But 7 of us coming over from Germany, and that's the most we've ever had. And it's starting to grow. Hopefully, if and when we get promoted, it'll really take off.
Fingers crossed. And we've also got regular guest Justin Warner in Toronto, Canada. He's part of the SAFC NASA group. Justin, good afternoon to you, mate. It's 2:30 there, I think.
Yes, indeed. Hey there, Lee.
Good, mate. I'm not too bad. I mean, yesterday's win softened the blow for me yesterday because I got a bit of bad news. Well, I've got to do my car service next month, and I've got to do the big one, get the timing belt changed. And I got the quote, and I almost cried. Just under €800, mate. So I've got to try and figure out ways of saving money. So I think I'm going to probably do Lent for the first time, and I might have to start a month early. So, yeah, if anyone wants to start a GoFundMe, because I've got the car insurance the following month as well. But anyway, apart from that, the lads won last night. It was a pretty routine win, wasn't it, Justin? One that we've been asking for quite a while, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, people have been banging on about us thrashing a team sometime soon, but to be honest, it was comfortable. I mean, Luton looked good for the first couple of minutes, and then after that, it was plain sailing. I think we had almost complete control of the game.
Yeah, Ian. I mean, there was I caused a bit of a stir on social media. I kind of called out one of Lebris's comments in the press conference when he said Luton is a good side and they play direct football and they're good at it. And I was thinking, with their second bottom, they've won 1 in 10 and they've lost 7 in 10. That's not the sign of a good sign. So I kind of criticised that comment. I got a bit of a backlash as well. So, but I mean, were you kind of concerned that it could be a bit of a repeat of the Watford game?
Well, the problem last night, which didn't turn out to be a problem at the end of the day, is it's Luton. And you know what to expect from Luton, even though their new manager's trying to change their way of playing. In the second half, they brought out a bio and all they did was high long balls. And Dan Ballard he must have thought it was his birthday. And I bet he had a headache at the end of the game as well. But no, it was a comfortable win yesterday. I would have liked to have been a few more goals. I just hope that this lack of goals doesn't come back to bite us in the arse at the end of the day.
Well, especially those 5 draws that we had in a row. I think there was a couple of nil-nils in there, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not in those cases. It wasn't just the lack of goals; it was a lack of points as well. Those were winnable games, and the games we should have won, and we didn't. They had dropped points, actually, not lack of goals. But I mean, it's gone. We've just got to see what we can do in the next 15 games. Is it?
14, I think, left.
14.
Yeah. Justin, as you mentioned, Luton started well. Were you surprised that Ballard was the one that came in for Mepham? I don't know if that was like injury related or tactical. I mean, I don't know.
I think Mepham went off, didn't he, towards the end of the Watford game. He looked like he had either cramp or a bit of a muscle pull. So not really a huge surprise. I think Lebris had been sort of teasing the fact that Ballard was likely to come into the side. I think a lot of the speculation was whether Sirkin would be dropped and perhaps 09 would have moved to left back. But as Ian said, it was pretty much a comfortable night for him. And actually, his range of passing was pretty good as well. He was bringing the ball out of defence on a few occasions as well. So it was good performance from him.
Yeah, well, that's what I noticed. I thought like 09 and in general we were playing more diagonals and we're actually getting trying to get Isidore in over the top as well quite a few times in the first half. And that's something we haven't been doing recently. So I thought that was like a positive change at least. And I think for me, Ian, if '09's going to be in the team, he can't just be in the team for playing like right to left. You know what I mean? Like back to Pato, and he's gonna be brave and try those balls, hasn't he? Because essentially that's what he's in the team for, isn't he? Not just his defending abilities, but also his passing range and getting us on the front foot.
Yeah, but you have a look at what O'Nien did last night. I mean, O'Nien gets an awful lot of stick because he's always good for a mistake. I mean, last night he tackled the bloody linesman, you know. But when you think about it, when you watch O'Nien's game, the amount of times he bangs the ball 30, 40, 50 yards across to Pat Roberts on the right wing, and the goal. I mean, Roberts doesn't even have to move. You know, he traps the ball and he's away. And Roberts had a particularly good game last night anyway. But O'Nien helped there as well. And other than that, you know what you've got with O'Nien? He'll defend a goal with everything that he's got. He hoys himself in. I mean, he didn't have to do it last night. But how often have we seen that he defends with everything that he's got? I rate O'Nien. I know he's always capable of dropping a bollock. Sorry, capable of dropping a clanger. But he gives 110% every time. He's so pleased to be playing for us, and I'd much rather have a player of a potentially limited ability playing like that. Have a superstar who's only given us 70%. I don't want a superstar that's only given us 70%.
Mm.
You know, O'Nien, to me, he can drop bollocks, but I think he's a bloody good player. And I wasn't surprised last night when Methven was the one that got dropped for Ballard. Ballard, I felt, had to come back in because he is a good, strong player, and especially against what Luton threatened us with all the long balls in. I thought that Ballard was the best choice. O'Nien, for all he's not the biggest bloke in the world. He can get up the height and he niggles players. He puts players off the stride. He knows what they call it, shithousery.
He reads the game well as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Justin, Ian mentioned there, Paddy Roberts had a very good game, and it was after 3 minutes that he created our first chance, which was a chance for Wilson Isidore. He had Rig going on the outside, but he decided to pull it back and go for Isidore, and Isidore had a shot. Paddy Roberts, I think he had a very good game. He didn't have a great game against Watford. I think that was evident, but he was good against Middlesbrough. I think when he's on fire, he's unplayable, isn't he, for defence? And it's just a pity that nobody finishes these chances that he puts on the plate for them, and that he can't get that elusive goal that's been escaping him for all season.
Yeah, he hit the post again last night, didn't he? But yeah, I think Luton was standing off him a little bit. I think he struggles when he receives the ball with players tight to him. But he was able to sort of pick the ball up and get himself sorted and work out what it was he wanted to do quite often last night. And yeah, I mean, Pat Roberts running at you, most defenders' nightmare, I would think. Yeah, you're right. He had a very good game, and there were opportunities he created, both coming inside on his left foot and going outside on his right foot, and that's good to see as well.
Yeah. I thought, him and Lefebvre actually started very deep, but then as the game wore on, they started pushing forward, and our fullbacks were going forward as well. But the thing I like about Roberts is that he's kind of a good reader of the game, Ian. I think if he can see that you can go and attack them, he'll do it. But if he sees that it's not on, he'll kind of keep the ball and he'll pass it to someone else. So he's good at retaining the possession, isn't he? So I think that's something that's good for us because it doesn't put us under needless pressure.
Yeah, but I think sometimes if you listen to the crowd, that frustrates them to a certain extent. They expect him to go on and take them, but he cuts back and he plays the ball elsewhere. The chance that he set up for Isidore last night after 3 minutes, a lot of people, including me, expected him to have a dig.
Yeah,
but he came inside and tried to make the chance for Isidore. I think he's still lacking a certain amount of confidence. I mean, he's obviously played a hell of a lot better for us. So the first year, when was it? in the third division. He was just taking them apart. When Jack Clark wasn't all that great on the other side, we still had Pat Roberts on the right hand side. But one thing I'd like to say about Pat Roberts, did you take a good look at him yesterday? He looks as though he hasn't had a decent sleep for about a fortnight.
Well, he has got a young kid, I think, hasn't he? He did
Ah,
have
so
a.
all right. Well, that's the reason.
I think that's the reason.
He really, I mean, he wasn't playing knackered, but he looked
He
knackered.
looked like. I think
His son. It was his son's first birthday, I think, like sort of last week or something like that, wasn't it? So,
that's right. Yeah.
so he could be teething or something like that. It's keeping him up at night.
Yeah, we all know about that. Right then, Justin, we had a chance on 9 minutes where Dan Neil got played in. I thought he could have shot first time with his left foot, but he decided to come back in. And yeah, the chance was gone by that point because like Luton surrounded him. So we were getting into good positions, but we weren't making the right decisions until, Justin, the 12th minute when Lefay worked a bit of magic. Good play from Paddy Robertson, Trey Hume on the right. And yeah, Alan Johnston-esque, wasn't it, that finish?
No, it's perfect. I thought, I mean, going back to Paddy Roberts, so that him, Rigg, and Hume were linking up really well on the right hand side. And in this case, I think it was Hume cut inside, played the pass out wide, and I mean, still had 3 or 4 players to get the shot off through, and it was just perfect. So, yeah, nice for him to get up and running on the score sheet, and yeah, certainly settled a few nerves.
Yeah, well, I mean, his touches as well, Ian. Like they're marvelous, aren't they? Like these first touches, his control, he's basically he's anticipation and forward thinking. No, he knows where to play it before he's even received the ball, and like Serkin's already on the overlap. So he's developing a good partnership there with Serkin. But are we craving for that partnership to end so he can go in the centre and Mundle can go back on the left?
It's going to be difficult. I mean, we just talked about how he scored his goal last night. That's just the latest in a long line of players cutting in from the left and just pinging it in the far corner. Watson's done it, Mundle's done it, Clark did it. You know, Roberts did it from the other side. It seems to be a speciality of ours, and they just haven't. I don't know if the defences haven't clicked onto it, but they don't seem to have a great lot of defence against it. But going back to Lefay, I'd like to go back to the Borough game. The long ball, the third goal, when he took that ball on the run, I was just, how did he do that? And then knocked it in. Okay, it was an own goal. It's still a hell of a cross with his wrong foot. But how he took a goal again last night, there was a similar one. Okay, it didn't lead to anything, but he just took a ball and went, and you could hear the entire stadium going, oh, you know, the entire stadium just took an intake of breath. He's far too good for us, or he's far too good for this division. If we get promoted, I'm not going to say when, but if we get promoted and we can keep on to him, it's a good start for the Premier League.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We might have to replace a few other players, but if we can keep him, wow, what a player!
Yeah. Justin, where do you stand on Lefay's position? I mean, he's basically wowing us on the left wing, but I mean, would you like to see him more centrally when Mundle eventually comes back into the first team squad?
I think it's a good option to have, isn't it? I mean, I'm perfectly happy with him on the left wing, to be honest. The way things are going. I mean, obviously, well, I'd say obviously we believe his strongest position is as a 10. But I think for us to be able to accommodate that, we have to change formation, and then that begs the question: what happens behind him? So I mean, the having Dan Neil lying deep with Rigg and Job in front of him is working fine at the moment. You would think if to accommodate a 10, you're going to have to probably drop that defensive midfielder, maybe have Neil playing a little bit further forward, which he hasn't shone when he's moved forward, like when Sam had played deep. Neil had to push up and wasn't brilliant, to be honest. So yeah, I'm happy for us to take our time, make sure that Messrs Watson and Mundle are completely fit and keep Lefay at left wing for the time being.
I think for Leeds game, I don't think Mundle or Watson are going to be fit for that anyway. So I think he's going to be there for that. The person who he could replace, Ian, is in that number 10 role, or advanced midfield, what you want to call it, is Chris Rigg. Now,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, he's only 17, he's a talented player, but I think he's been offered for a good while now, and it might be controversial, I might get slated for this, but I think like the team are carrying him a bit because he's not getting involved the way he should be. And I think
Yeah,
that
that's true.
I think he needs to like basically maybe it's like a spell out the first team and maybe be used
Yeah.
from the bench for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Well, when he got injured before, I think he missed 2 or 3 games. And since he's come back from that, he's not been the same player. I think that was about Christmas time, sometime like that. Um, I I was disappointed last night that Rigg played. Not because it's Chris Rigg, I don't want him to play or anything. I think he's a great player. But he's only 17. The lad's been running on fumes for the last couple of weeks, or the last month at least. I would have loved to have seen my ender in last night and gone 4-4-2. But unless we're playing Sheffield United, it seems that Labrie doesn't want to play that formation. Whatever. But I think Chris, I don't know how badly injured he is from last night. I honestly think that against Leeds on Monday, Rigg will go onto the bench if he's fit, and they'll bring Samed in. Samed is the sort of player that we need for somebody like Leeds. What we don't need Samed for is when we're playing Plymouth and Watford, and that was a big bollock that was dropped by Labrie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. On to Rigg then. I mean, I think his injury wasn't serious, according to Labrie's comments. He said he's just tired. But I mean, if you look at he took a bit of a bad touch, didn't he? When he got the ball, it was a bad touch. It went away from him, and it was one of those challenges where I think if you're a bit older, you kind of go, "Yeah, I shouldn't be going in for that." It was the same as Tommy Watson when Tommy Watson got injured. I think if he's a bit older, he knows that there's not much chance of coming out with the ball and you risk getting hurt.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Rigg happened last night, didn't he? I think he took like a bad knock to the leg. But yeah, Justin, how do you see like Rigg's performances recently, and what should be the plan for him going forward?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Ian. I think we run the risk of him being Job Mark II. I mean, Job was running on fumes last season. I think Rigg has played a lot more football than we had expected him to play. Mainly because we didn't really have the options. We have those options now. So yeah, again, I'm not a doctor, so I wouldn't like to say how bad the injury is, but it didn't look great. I mean, it was one of those ones that I suspect he's probably like tweaked a ligament or something like that. It's a bit of a twist, the best case, a twisted ankle. But it's one of those ones that you normally get through on adrenaline immediately afterwards, which is what he did. He came back on and carried on for another 5-10 minutes, and then it starts swelling up and it gets uncomfortable, and you have to call it a day. And that's to me look what happened. So I'd be surprised if he starts against Leeds. And against Ian's point, you would think a more naturally defensive-minded midfielder like Samed would probably come in rather than Alexic or another like Alan Brown.
Alan Brown, who's like back fit now, isn't he? Played from the 21s tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right then. So on 25 minutes, Ian, Luke 09 was Luke 09 once again, clattered into the linesman. Linesman dropped his flag, and Luke, as he would, he picked up the flag and signaled for a free kick. Yeah, we love him, don't we? I mean, I don't know if you've seen the video back, but like you look at his facial expression, right, and he looks like he's gonna. I think he looks like he's gonna get booked. I think that's the way he feels because he kind of looks awkwardly at the referee, looks again, and then the referee holds his hand out to say, "You're all right," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm all right."
Yeah.
But you remember the Gaza one, no? The Gaza yellow card from when he was playing for Rangers, and Gaza showed the yellow card at the ref and he got booked. So I think 09 have probably had that in mind as well. But yeah, Luke 09 was fine. On the 31st minute, then Ian, they had like it wasn't a disallowed goal, wasn't it? Because it didn't go off the line. It was an offside.
I don't know how he missed it.
But it was
even if he was outside.
it was
Yeah.
probably the only safe and paddle all night, I think, wasn't it? Because he didn't have
Yeah.
much to do, did he not? So it was a
Yeah.
good safe and paddle, and I think it was like Isidore on the line, but he got there before it went over, and
Mhm.
yeah, it was ruled offside. So that was the only kind of scare, wasn't it, in the first half, apart from maybe the first 2 minutes. So we
Yeah,
kind of like dealt with their threat.
once again, it showed that we are still vulnerable. Um, I, Luton were poor last night, in retrospect, and they didn't impress me even during the game. But they're capable of doing something like that, and you could see the centre forward, I can't remember, Morris, went across to the guy taking the free kick and told them what to do. So now, if I'm a Sunderland defender, I'm going to sit in Morris's back pocket because I know where the ball's going to. And he still got to it. Pato put out for a hell of a save, pushed it onto the post. As I say, I don't know how that guy follow in didn't score. Apparently, he was the one that was offside, not Morris himself. I couldn't really see from the replays. But nevertheless, I think that was a wee bit of a wake-up call to it. We're still capable of doing these daft, silly things during the game, and if we are serious about getting promotion, we have to cut these things out, especially when we're only leading 1-0. If that had happened when it was 2-0, okay, everybody thought, oh, shit happens, you know. But when it's only 1-0, and if that had happened in the last minute, you know, it would have been on the barricades. The fans, you know, they'd have been screaming
Yeah,
blue murder.
yeah. Well, Justin, that was like the first minute, 31st minute, but then like after that, there was like a couple of incidents which happened after. One was like a penalty shout for a foul on Lefebvre, which I thought was very soft. It didn't look like a penalty. Just like looked, he got like went off very easily. I think probably you probably agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Justin.
it wasn't a penalty for my mind. He sort of slammed around a couple of players and then took a heavy touch and just fell over. So yeah, not a pen for me.
Yeah, and then just after that, Chrissy Rigg had a left foot shot, which I think was parried out by the keeper as well. But one thing I thought in the first half was good, Justin, was our fullbacks were getting forward, Thirkell was getting forward, Hume was getting forward, and Hume put a nice cross in, but the only person in the box was Isidore. Like, usually, like maybe it's like Job and Rigg getting in there as well to give a bit of support because like we've got one forward against what 4 or 5 defenders. So I think that's a bit of an Achilles heel, isn't it, at the minute? I think we were good at that at the start of the season, getting players in the box, but now in the last few games, the likes of Rigg and Job, they're not arriving as much as they used to.
Second half, I think we picked it up a little bit, didn't we? There were a few crosses went in the second half where we had like 4 or 5 people in the box. Perhaps Labrise had picked them up on it at half time, but yeah, you're right. It was yeah, like the bad old days of having just one man in the almost in their half. It was just yeah, an opportunity lost for sure. I think it's players willing to take a gamble, isn't it? And I think with a young team, you always run the risk of them being a little bit on the conservative side because they don't want to be caught on the counter, so that they naturally don't risk that push forward and leave themselves exposed. But yeah, it's disappointing, but something to work on, I guess.
Yeah. And then Ian,
I think it's a
half-time,
good argument
to
to play two up front.
play two up front.
Sorry, Lee.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think that following on from what Justin said, I think that's a good argument for playing two up front. I mean, if Isidore doesn't get the first ball, possibly Mayenda lurking about behind him will get it, you know, and then you don't have to depend on Job or Rigg or whoever bombing forward from midfield.
Well, on that note, Ian, we went in 1-0 at half-time. It's a bit of a dodgy scoreline, isn't it? Because no one knows. We like to take a lead and then we like to sit on it. And at the start of the second half, we were a bit all over the shop, weren't we, for the first few minutes?
But it's always the same. It's how we start games, whether it's at the very start of the game or whether it's at half time. We start slow. Yesterday we didn't do our favourite thing of waiting 10 minutes to see what they were going to do before we even started playing football. At least we got stuck into it. We could have been 3-0 up by the time. It could have been 2-0 up by the time Lefebvre got his goal. But we started off a lot more positive last night, which I was pleased to see. But as I said earlier, we're still capable of falling back into our old, the old things that we have been doing over the last few months. Start of the season, we were great. I couldn't see anybody even scoring a goal against us. It took, 6-7 games before Luke O'Neill put it in his own goal.
Yeah.
There was just I couldn't see it happening. Last night, although Luton didn't threaten us at all, the Luton, you know that they're capable of doing something.
And we kind of sometimes shoot ourselves in the foot, don't we?
Yeah.
Right.
Very good at that.
We're good at that. So just on the 57th minute then, Isidore, basically, it was his lucky day, wasn't it? He just got like a rebound off a player, and then he just like, one touch and then bang in the bottom corner. But he was quiet, wasn't he? For the most of the game, apart from like the odd time in the first half where we played a couple of balls over, he kind of drifted out of the game. But it's nice to see that we've got a forward that, although he's not involved, if he gets a chance, he'll stick it in the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's one of those deceptive players. I think he is involved. I mean, he does an awful lot of running. And I think he is making those runs to sort of draw defenders out of position. And I think for that very reason, defenders know they can't just let him go. So they're having to stick with him. So it does sort of stretch defenses as well, even if he's not necessarily getting the passes or he's not getting the support when he does get the ball. But yeah, I mean, he kind of started that move on the halfway line. Looked like he didn't really know what to do with it. Sort of drifted inside a little bit, passed it to Lefebvre. Lefebvre tried to pick out Dan Neil at the top of the box, I think. And that lad was the one I think who fouled Chris Rigg, and was probably lucky to still be on the pitch. But thankfully he played the perfect pass into Wilson and swept it home, and nice finish.
Right, Ian, with Isidore, I think there's two things that I think he can improve on. One is like use his upper strength, his upper body strength. I think he goes down very, very easily looking for free kicks for such a big lad. And two, I think his heading is quite poor as well, because I think he had a chance last night where he got a crossing from, I think it was Mike Roberts maybe, or Hume, and he just totally fluffed the header, didn't he? You'd expect like a decent centre forward to get a head in it and put it on target, but he just kind of like let it skim his head and it went out for a goal kick. So I think those are two areas where I'd like to see him kind of like improve on, especially the strength, because he's a naturally strong big guy.
Yeah, well, he's French, isn't he? Have you ever seen a Frenchman who was a good header of the ball?
Well, not Lilian Lalande, no.
Sorry, French people who listen to this. That was a bit of a piss take. No, but you're right. I mean, but then again, what is he? He's only 22. He's still got to learn. He's scoring goals. I mean, how can you fault somebody who scored 11 goals so far? Should be 12. If he put the 2 penalties away, it would have been 14. At the start of the season, we'd have taken your hands off for somebody who's going to score 14 goals in a season.
Yeah.
As Justin said as well, it's not just his goal scoring, it's the way he plays. Even if he's not touching the ball, he's taking their defenders all over the place and he's creating space for somebody else. And that's only a good thing. Having said that, as you say, he goes down and he plays injured and what have you. I think he's carrying an injury, to tell you the truth. It's not affecting his speed, which we've seen any amount of times when he just buggers off and runs away from the defence. Against Hull and Derby, it worked wonderfully. But doesn't seem to be able to have this cupby stamina thing to last the 90 minutes.
He had a nice pack on his knee at full time yesterday, so he may have got a knock on it, maybe.
Yeah. But I think
I was disappointed last night when he brought Samet on for Wilson and Isidore. Sorry, and I was chatting with my mate, and I said, I hope to God Isidore's injured, because if not, that's just a very negative, very conservative substitution. Having said that, it turns out possibly that he's injured, and I thought Samet did a good job last night when he came on. he solidified the midfield. Not that the midfield was in any trouble whatsoever, but he made sure the 2-0 was going to stand.
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been 3-4, 5-0, but 2-0, 3 points. You only get 3 points to win. You don't get any points, extra points for the goals.
Yeah. No,
So
and
it'd
I
be nice
like
to-
I liked Samed because he came on and immediately he was talking. He was like telling people where to go, what to do, and I think that's a good sign rather than like coming on and doing nothing and saying no. I think so. He knew what his role was. Justin Isidore, he's key, isn't he? If we're going to kind of hope for automatic promotion, it's key that he doesn't get a serious injury because if he does, I don't think Mayenda is an equal replacement for him to get the goals.
That said, though, Abdullahi's played like a couple of games in the last couple of weeks for the under-21s, and he's been scoring for fun. And he looks like a bit of a beast as well. He's a big lad, and he knows where the goal is. So that has reassured me somewhat that should something happen to Isidore, we might be okay. But yeah, I would be worried with us starting with just Mayenda leading the line. I think he needs. I think he works well as a 4-4-2 or coming in from the right wing to support Isidore. But yeah, I wouldn't fancy our chances of beating a team like Leeds with just Mayenda up front. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and obviously we haven't got Jaden Dance for God knows how long because he's got a fractured back or something like that.
Yeah.
I was about to say that. Don't forget, we've still got that lad from Liverpool. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it was him as well.
Yeah. Right then. Well, we're currently fourth place as we have been for a while now. We're 62 points, Burnley 64, Sheffield United 67, and Leeds 69. I mean, a lot of people are saying Leeds are going to walk away with it. I mean, after the last few performances, I mean, you could argue, yeah, they got a point. But everything can change in a couple of games, can't it? I mean, if we beat Leeds and they lose another game, then there's a huge point swing there. And there's still have 14 games to go. But, Justin, what's the plan for Leeds, do you think? How do we approach that game next Monday?
I think we stick with what we're doing currently. I think it's a 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, with Lefay wide, probably with Roberts wide. You would imagine Leeds will actually attack us, so it should be a more open game, which suits us usually. Defensively, I think 09 starts. I'd be happy with either Ballard or Mepham, to be honest. So whichever one's the most fit. I mean, Leeds aren't a huge side, are they? So we don't necessarily need the height, but yeah, wouldn't be too worried about either of them. But yeah, I think it's pretty much the same starting 11 probably from tonight. We'll start on Monday.
Ian, do we go there looking for a draw, or do we go there trying to get the 3 points? Because we saw when Leeds played Burnley. Sorry, when Leeds played Burnley, I mean that was just like a dead rubber, wasn't it? It was a horrible game to watch.
Didn't watch it. Thank God I didn't.
Thank God you didn't watch it. But I mean that's why Burnley haven't scored many goals, and that's why they've only conceded 9 because yeah, there wasn't many chances. So is that what we do? Do we kind of like go there to nick a point and stay in it, or do we go there and try to win?
I honestly don't think we can go and play for a draw. We proved time and time again we can't hold on to a 1 goal or even a 2 goal in the case of Coventry lead. We've just got to press it. If we were on top of our game, and there were signs last night that we were getting there, there was still mistakes last night. If we can put out the silly mistakes, get on top of our game, put Samed in for Rig to hold the defensive side of it. I'm saying I don't. If we go gung ho, we'll get slaughtered. That's just not on. But as Justin said, it'll be an open game and the space. And if we can get Robertson or Lefay, and especially Isidore over the top, we've got a very good chance. You know, I mean, if you'd asked me this before last night's game, I would have said I would love to come away from there with a draw. I can't see it. I just hope we don't get hammered because Leeds are just scoring goals for fun. What Leeds are doing now is what we did when we went up after we lost the playoff against Charlton. We just slaughtered anything that came in front of us. Off from Colchester United, who beat us 2-1, 3 games from the end of the season. But nevertheless,
I remember the Oxford game. Did we beat them 7-0 at home? Yeah, I was there that day. Yeah,
we were slaughtering people left, right, and centre. Same as Leeds are doing now. But at the end of the day, all they've got to show for it is a brilliant goal difference, but only 3 points more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, Justin, we've got a couple of minutes left then. I mean, the playoffs is looking more and more pretty much guaranteed. So you would think that we've got to go for that the top two place now, haven't we? Because the playoffs is looking 17 points ahead of seventh. So we've got to go for that second place now, haven't we? Surely.
Yeah, we'd really have to Sunderland it up to drop out of the playoffs, I think. And yeah, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I think you sensibly go to attack Leeds and try and get the win. I mean, would I take a draw now? Yeah, probably would. But I think, yeah, with the 14 games left, we really have to try and pick it up and put some pressure on those 3 teams ahead of us.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Ian, a quick prediction, mate, because we've got less than a minute left. What's your prediction for Monday? If you want to make one, you can opt out if you want.
One's apiece.
One's apiece. Justin?
I'm going to be optimistic and say 2-1 to the lads.
2-1. I'm going to go for another 2-2 draw, but this time without a Melia fuck up. Right, lads. Thanks for your time today, and we'll speak again soon. How are the lads? See you later.
Oh, lads.
As always, a pleasure, Lee. Cheers, Mara.